We got a very busy podcast today.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Totally Spoiled podcast. At Brian Fink, at April on air. We've got two very special guests with us today. First, and I'm going to have to read because you've got so much to you. I know. From the Ron and Ian show on one of our sister stations, 95.3 WDAE. Former Tampa Bay Buccaneer player. Former Philadelphia Eagle. Two?
Correct.
CEO of Flavor of Tampa Bay?
Correct.
Dignitary ambassador?
Preach.
Host of the In the Trenches podcast, which I thought that was the only podcast, but you're telling me that you've got a lot of podcasts.
I want to say we just developed our fifth one last night.
Holy crap.
Yeah, we did a hip-hop happy hour last night, and so we're going to talk about the history of hip-hop and how I love hip-hop and with my boy DJ Don Pablo. And I have In the Trenches, which is football. I have a cannabis podcast, which I just finished. Flavor in Your Ear is kind of political. And then I have Flavor of Tampa Bay, which is food, which is what I'm all about.
But you don't have a TV one. That's what I heard.
All right, okay,
he
so
doesn't have a
we're
TV
still up one.
We're still good here.
We're still up one.
Ian Beckles, welcome to the Totally Spoiled podcast.
It's good to be here.
Our second special guest, which pretty much completed my life, was interviewing Danny Trejo. We're going to be talking to Danny Trejo, who has over 150 roles in TV and movie. You're looking at me like you don't know who Danny Trejo is.
Now, the lovely April gave me a text yesterday and broke down what some of the things we'll be talking about. And I was going to Google him, and I said, you know what? Ignorance is good. I have no idea who Danny Trejo is.
I like it.
Well, Ian, if you would have Googleized Danny Trejo, you would have seen Breaking Bad, Machete, Anchorman. If there's a role that's like a prisoner or a gang member or just a badass villain, that's Danny Trejo.
Bad complexion?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Look, see, there we go.
And tattoos all over. He's got like a huge tattoo, doesn't he? I think he's got a huge tattoo on his chest.
You've seen someone through. He's got some on his arms, but I mean, you checking out some other pictures?
I was.
Yeah, okay.
I was checking out Danny Trejo. That's going to be on the podcast version of the Totally Spoiled podcast. So, of course, when you're done watching, you can hop on to iHeartRadio or iTunes, and you can hear it there. Before we get to Danny Trejo, we're also going to talk about Miss Bala. Is that how you say it?
Oh, my God. Phenomenal movies. I mean, I know it's only February, but it's my favorite movie of the year so far.
Have you seen Miss Bala?
I don't go to movies anymore.
Really?
I think I'm getting so old. I don't have the patience to sit down and watch a movie. I just don't.
Believe me.
I don't have time to sit down for 3 hours and watch a movie. I just don't.
See, I kind of look at it as an escape to kind of get away from everything. But here's what sucks about going to movies is we always talk about this. You spend like $15 just on the ticket, then the food, then everything else, and then you've got like 5 people talking around you the entire movie.
I was going to say, it's a gamble once you get in there. Am I going to have like a good group of people? Are they going to be quiet? Or, going to have screaming kids? You never know.
I think the last movie I saw, it might have been 3 years ago in a cinema. Like
really?
Like 3 years ago, yeah.
I thought you were going to say it was like 30 years ago, like Wizard of Oz or something.
No. It wasn't quite that long ago. But yeah, I'll wait till it comes on HBO. I mean, that's just me.
So you can enjoy it at home.
Yeah. I'm
absolutely.
Very patient.
So we're going to talk about that coming up, but we have to talk about Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Oof, wow. So Liam Neeson, if you haven't heard the story, he's in a lot of hot water. A lot of people are calling him a racist for a story that he told. If you haven't heard the story, did you hear the story about what's going on?
I did.
So he was telling this story about a friend of his that told him she had been raped. And this happened like 40 years ago, I guess. And he asked her if she knew who it was. She said no. He asked what color they were. Mm-hmm. And she said it was a black person. And he said that after that, for a week, he walked around with a stick, just waiting for somebody to come up to him and approach him so that he could kill them.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah, it's deep. He has some guts telling the story. I don't know why he told the story. That doesn't really make sense to me.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that he's a racist, because he may be telling the story because he's changed as a person. I would suggest people don't look at an entire race of people,
Right.
and blame everybody for anything. I would hope that we've advanced from that, but then I watch TV and I know that's not the case.
Right.
True.
But it's just, I'm that guy where I ask this one question. This is my most important question. Who got hurt? If nobody gets hurt, I just let them move on. Like, I don't know him.
Right.
You might sit him here. He might be the nicest dude ever.
And I'm sure he is.
He probably is. And sometimes people tell the truth sometimes in interviews, and they get crucified. Like, people are going to stop telling the truth.
But I think the problem came in where not only was he sharing this story for no reason, just to promote a movie, he was doing a press junket, and that's where he shared it. But I think the problem came in was, in his words, when he said, I was hoping some black bastard would come out of a pub and approach me so I could kill them. Now, he went on GMA and he talked about, they asked him flat out if it was another race, if it was a different, would it have been the same situation? He said, yeah, if it was an Irish person, if it was Scottish, if it was a British person, it would have been the exact same thing. But I think the problem was the specifics of it and how he worded it.
Right. No, I definitely agree with that. And you have to be careful on what you say. And whether you like it or not, you can agree or disagree. As a public figure and someone like Liam Neeson, we go back to the whole cases with Roxanne and that whole spiel. As a public figure, like it or not, you have to measure your words.
And you have to know.
And you have to know your audience, what your approach is. I mean, there's so many things to take into consideration. And I think it could have been handled in a different way as well, or answered in a different way.
There's no doubt. And when I hear what he said, you have to take in consideration the mindset he must have been in, carrying a stick, looking for black people. He was looking for black bastards. That's what he's looking for at the time. So he was just telling us what he was thinking at the time. Once again, I like to sit him down and say, well, what's your opinion now of black people? I mean, how has your life been? Have you had black friends? I don't know those answers.
Well, I think he's made it very clear that he's not a racist, and this happened 40 years ago, and it was just the situation that it was. But, I mean, the backlash is there. His red carpet event for his new movie was canceled. There are people that are saying that he should be digitally removed from the new Men in Black movie because of this. I really think that it just comes down to, why even bring this story up?
But you know who I'm leery of? People that say I'm not racist. Those are the ones I'm leery of.
Right.
I've had people say to me, you're racist. And I go, against who?
Right.
And I go, white people. I go, okay. And I go, I'm from Montreal.
Hey, high five to that.
I'm from Montreal. Then I went to Iowa. Then I went to Indiana. Wow. If I didn't like white people, do you think I'd be here?
Right.
And I married a white woman. So I don't like white people? Come on.
Makes sense.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Makes sense.
But I mean, it kind of puts it in a situation. I mean, he has to say I'm not racist because of it. But where do you go from this? I mean, you just try to get into the mentality of, I get it. It's a story that can be told, but why?
It also just depends how it's manipulated and twisted. I mean, it's in his own words, but people are always going to take it and make it their own and interpret it in their own way.
Well, especially with how sensitive everything is now.
Absolutely. Definitely with that said.
But the problem I'm having, and once again, just saying you're not racist makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up a little bit, because I hear that a lot now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like saying, well, for God's sakes, if what you just said wasn't racist, who is racist?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had this discussion with people before. They go, well, do you think Donald Trump's racist? And I'll say, well, do you? And they'll say, well, and I say, well, Google it and see what comes up.
But I think it's not only racism. I think it's homophobia. I think it's everything where people go, well, I'm not homophobic. And then you got to back it up and you got to try to figure it out.
If you have to back it up and explain it, then you got to check yourself, I think. Like, I don't have to say I'm not homophobic. I don't need to say that. I don't think it's necessary.
But you're also not telling a story of waiting outside a bar,
Right.
waiting for a gay bastard
Correct, yes.
to come out to kill them.
Yeah.
So he shared that story, which kind of puts him in the position that he does have to say I'm not racist because he's being accused of it now.
And listen, if somebody came out and said Ian is racist or Ian is homophobic, I would like to believe that I would have a gang of people come up and go, that ain't him.
That would back you up.
That ain't,
Yeah.
Absolutely. It just ain't him.
Because
Absolutely.
your lifestyle just resembles that.
Absolutely.
So
All right, so let's do some spoiling and talk to Danny Trejo. That's going to, oh my God. Danny Trejo is such an amazing story. Do you know, you don't even know who he is, so I can't even tell you if you know his background.
Well, I know the movie Machete. I didn't watch it, but I know what he
that's
looks
a good
like.
movie, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't watch
it sure is.
So as we talked about with him in the interview, he started, pretty much in and out of prison and dealing with drugs and everything like that. And then he became a drug counselor. And it kind of transitioned because he was going to be an extra on a movie set.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of his called him up on the movie set, said, listen, I'm going through issues with my drug addiction. Can you come down and help? And the director at the
Amazing.
time saw him and put him in the movie, and that's led to like 150.
Really?
Yeah. It is and like Danny Trejo, I'm telling you, when you Google him, you know who he is
I
now.
know who he is, yeah.
It's just amazing. Like everybody knows and loves Danny Trejo.
More than just his success story, it's beautiful to see where he came from, what he went through, and what he's doing now. It's inspiring. It's seriously incredible. And after, just speaking with him and everything and whatnot, you see such a light in this human.
Yeah,
it's
I
amazing.
watched an interview that he did, I want to say with Big Boy, and you could just tell that he was a good person, like a good heart. And
Great.
as I said to him, like I was nervous talking to him because I expect him to be a really nice person, but then literally I expect him to flip and go, I will kill you.
Well, he has that look.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And listen, I've been very blessed to interview a lot of people throughout the years, and this is, and you'll agree. Sometimes your perception of somebody is so off. Like just
Right.
the way
yeah.
he looks, he's kind of scary looking.
Yeah.
And listen, the perception of me, like people will say, "Oh, when I first met you, I was really scared."
You're a golfer,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. No, yeah, right.
You're a
But-
jockey.
Hole-in-one.
People look at me and they go, "You were kind of intimidating," and then I met you, and you're a teddy bear. So I mean, the perception of him in an interview would be he'd be like a rough, crass type of dude.
Absolutely.
But it's nice sometimes when you interview people that are just regular folks.
And I think I've told
Absolutely.
you because you know DJ IC.
Yeah.
Do you know who DJ IC is?
I see EY.
Yeah.
I have some of the stuff somewhere I can picture it.
So DJ IC is, he was one of the pioneers of Florida breakbeat. He's a legend in breakbeat, the scene. And I told April the story about the first time I ever interviewed him. We were playing his music for like 10 years. He walks in. He's this tall guy, had his hat down, quiet. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be horrible.
Yeah, right.
And right away, as an interviewer,
Yeah.
that starts to like bounce off of you. You're like, oh my God, this is going to be horrible. Nicest guy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't shut up during the interviews. He was like, oh my God, I listen to the show all the time. I was like, what is happening right now? But that's what you're saying. You see somebody.
Yeah, and listen, I have a bunch of my friends that have wives, and I'll call and say, "Hey, is so and so there?" And they're like, "Hey, 1 second," And you know who Rodney Pete is?
Yeah.
Well, he's married to Holly Robinson.
Right.
Okay. And I heard Oprah say one time that Holly and Rodney are my favorite couple. So that makes them pretty established.
Okay. Especially if Oprah says it.
Well, if Oprah says it, I just wanted to say my name one time, just because. But Holly is an established person. She's been in Hollywood forever. 21 Jump Street way back in the day. When you meet her, she's the nicest person, and I love that.
Right.
Right.
Because there's so many people that are up there on the pedestal, and they're looking down at you, and they're almost like, yeah, okay, I'll talk to you, and you're lucky that I'll talk to you.
Right.
She's just so open, like she doesn't feel like she is anything, and I
That's
think
beautiful.
that's beautiful. I really do.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention the quote to Danny. He had a quote that was amazing. That was something to the effect of, you can be a movie star, you just can't act like a movie star,
Love
or
it.
people can't think you're.
Simple
I'm
and well
totally
said, though.
butchering the quote, but
along that
it's
line.
the point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's the same thing. And listen, as a former professional athlete, people think that professional athletes should act a certain way, and if you're an a-hole, you were an a-hole before you started playing and before you made money.
Right.
Like I don't really like the NFL. It's a locker room that it's full of very intelligent people, very intellectual people, and 5 boneheads. And the 5 boneheads are the ones in paper all the time.
You want to mention those 5 boneheads? You can feel free.
On this team, the Bucks, Deshaun Jackson is a bonehead.
Oh! Probably names!
He's a bonehead. He quit on his team.
Yeah, listen.
That makes you a bonehead.
Obviously, this isn't the Totally Sports podcast, but I completely agree with you on that. You know, it was in the middle of the season where he was like, I want to be traded. And everyone's like, well, should we let it? I'm like
what the
get
heck?
him out of here.
Yeah.
Get him out of here.
It's not that easy, though.
I get that.
It's hard.
I completely understand that. But if somebody doesn't want to be part of the team,
like your mindset's already
goodbye.
there.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Right.
Goodbye. How do we get a?
It happens. I always see. I'll get it back to football somehow. From Danny Trejo.
I tried getting away from this bonehead a long time ago, but I couldn't get rid of her.
You could do much worse, my friend.
Right?
Is this the explicit podcast?
I'm ready.
Spanish, maybe? Does that maybe qualify for a different? Can I go into this?
Don't let her. Oh yeah, don't let her get into the Spanish.
We'll start speaking French.
Yes.
Parlez-vous français?
Oh crap, son of a bitch! All right, so let's get into Miss Bala. What is it? Because the only time I had ever heard of this movie was we were leaving Black Panther. And you go, oh, Miss Bala, I need to see that. No idea.
Oh, because I was obsessed immediately just because of the storyline behind it. But even more so, have you guys seen Jane the Virgin?
No.
No? Okay, so the main actress in this film is the main actress in Jane the Virgin.
Oh.
So... All right.
You already lost Ian and
bonehead.
I. You already lost Ian and I. We're like, oh yeah, Jane the Virgin. Yeah, we watch that all the time at home.
Female perspective. Tune in. So it's very intense. It kind of touches on the kind of issues that Mexico's kind of going through now with drugs and cartels and just havoc. And how this one Mexican American, and I mean, I can relate in that sense too, goes to Mexico and she's passionate about the culture. She's got family there, but she's like a misfit. She doesn't know exactly where she fits in.
And is that Miss Bala?
That's Miss Bala. So she's actually going there for a good family friend of hers that she hasn't seen in years, and her godson, to help her cousin win the beauty pageant, Miss Baja California. So she goes there on one of the nights. They go out to mix and mingle with the the politicians and the who's who in Baja. They get basically ambushed by a cartel who shoots up a club where they're at.
Oh wow!
And Miss Bala is the one. She gains her title by literally she gets abducted by the cartel, and they sent her on assignments to one of the things is blowing up one of the CIA house facilities and innocent bystanders and help traffic drugs and weapons. And you see how she gets swept into this and the whole thing that she's like, I will do this, but you need to promise me I'm going to get my friend or her family out. Where is she? And the story, I don't want to give the whole thing away, but
no, you can. I don't think Ian and I are going to
go ahead. It's the courage. It's the fear that's in there, but the courage and to just do what's right and make a point of what's going on and basically be a light in the whole situation that, look, no matter what you're in, you can and will get out.
But you're saying that she was abducted by the cartel. What was she that she was an importance to the cartel?
She wasn't. That's the thing.
She was just a random person?
She was someone that's there. And the irony with it, too, is they let her go. They're like, oh, you're an American? Fine, get out of the club. Well, she goes to report these people because she saw them face to face to the police. Well, the police was involved.
Of course they were.
Of course.
So she got let go, and then the police riled her back in.
Wow.
It's brutal.
But it's good?
Oh, it's amazing.
Really?
It's amazing.
And who's Miss Bala again?
She's the main character from Jane the Virgin.
Jane the Virgin. We were watching that the other night, Ian.
Yeah, come on. I know you were.
That comes on right after Sex in the City.
Yeah, Aiden and Tucker told me all about it. They said they love it too.
Why you got to bring my cats into this?
Because they're cool.
Have you been watching what's going on? Wait, you got a problem with my cats?
No, I
Wait
actually,
a second.
No, listen, I know you're.
Wait a
I know
second.
you're a cat
Please,
person.
please.
I know he's a cat person because I'm on Instagram and stuff like that, and I like cats. But you were talking to his cats?
He talks to his cats.
Oh, well,
he
that's
does.
obvious.
He sure does.
Ian's like, how can we profile Fink? Yeah, he talks to his
talks
cats.
to his cats.
Like we were talking about like how people perceive us. So if I was walking like just down the street or something and you saw me, you'd be like, oh yeah, he talks to his cats.
Certified cat daddy right
I don't
here.
know if I would think that.
Well, thank you.
I mean, well, is it bad?
No, it's not a bad thing at
Well,
all.
if it's bad, stop doing it.
It's not a bad thing at
I
all.
don't think it's bad. It's all good.
I consider them my kids.
Okay.
That's how I
You
look
should
at
stop-
them.
You should stop doing that. You should stop doing that one though. That one's weird. That one's
weird.
That one's weird.
No, when I start signing them up for kiddie preschool, then it's going to get weird.
Yeah, but I hear that a lot.
So it's
from
coming?
mostly women, unfortunately. And they go, well, those are like my children. I'm like, okay, they're
Listen,
animals.
when I show up here with a baby Bjorn with my cats in it, that's when you should go, okay, Fink's lost his absolute mind.
That's when we
Again.
take your iHeart card away.
all of a sudden the key fob doesn't
Yeah.
work into the building.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Ian,
this is
thank you so
great.
much for being in the
Anytime.
Totally Spoiled podcast.
Why totally spoiled?
So we spoil shows and movies. Spoilers.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
That would make sense.
By the
We're getting
way,
some gears turning up here.
before we wrap, we were talking about the Ted Bundy movie last week.
Yes.
With what's his name?
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron. So we didn't know when it was going to be coming out. Have you seen the Ted Bundy tapes on Netflix?
I don't watch it. I don't watch Netflix.
Dude,
What?
you
I'm not
need
on-
to
I-
watch.
Really?
I don't do it. I swear to you, I just don't camp.
Hey,
don't camp. And
I was the
watch-
same way.
Yeah.
Believe me, I don't believe in binging
I don't either.
because I feel like you shove way too much into your brain and
Okay.
at once. It's just like you leave it going. What just happened? What just
Yeah.
happened?
It's just counterproductive.
I don't know about
Like,
that.
to sit down somewhere and watch something for 6. Like I hear people, I watch it all day. I don't do that. I can't do that.
I take my cats.
I
We sit
do.
there. And
This is a cat podcast. Okay,
Totally.
you,
Literally,
you should do a cat podcast. I'm being serious.
We've talked about it.
Do
iHeart
it.
shut it down.
Yeah.
No.
I wouldn't listen to it, but it'd be cool.
Thanks.
The truth comes out.
Netflix bought the Ted Bundy movie for like $9 million.
Insane.
And it's going to be airing, I think they said, in fall. And it's going to be in theaters. So it's going to be both on Netflix and in theaters.
I'm definitely watching that.
This Is Us is back next week. So
you,
we'll be able to talk
Jesus.
about that on next week's episode. Thank you so much for watching and following and subscribing to the Totally Spoiled podcast.